7 units of armored vehicles are moving towards the city, or rather what is left of it. The drones spotted the advancing column long before it approached the city and had already transmitted the information to the headquarters. The Ukrainian Grad multiple rocket launcher system moves into position. BM-21 Grad multiple rocket launcher of 122mm caliber. This MLRS is not very accurate, although it has cheap shells, but it is ideal for countering the advancing enemy force. This means it does not require sophisticated electronics and works almost like artillery. Tanks and infantry fighting vehicles were scattered around the city between houses. Almost nothing can be seen because of the dust kicked up by the MLRS and artillery strikes. It would seem that such chaotic strikes do not bring any result, but it is not as it seems. But the strikes do not stop, and here are more shots from another angle. A group of 2 tanks and a BMP left the city, and they were immediately attacked by drones and RPGs. And here is another part of this group that ended up in a completely different place. This road was not prepared for offensive operations, and therefore the Russians faced problems. After hitting a mine, the crew abandoned the hit BMP and fled the battlefield. The problem was the surviving tanks that were moving in the opposite direction from the battlefield, or that had already been hidden among the trees. The only option was to use FPV drones, which are ideally suited for this kind of task. Some tanks were only damaged, and some were completely destroyed. The crews of these APCs were confused by inaccurate orders or a difficult situation and began to circle the place, and this had serious consequences. The second group of tanks and armored personnel carriers was sent into battle. The goal of either group is to reach the designated positions under heavy fire and land a landing party that will clear the positions and gain a foothold. But due to poor cover, Russian vehicles are forced to land earlier, because most of them do not make it halfway before something hits them. Nevertheless, some of the surviving infantrymen manage to gain a foothold in the ruins of former buildings. And then, heavy drones come to the rescue, carrying explosives that can destroy an entire building. A single tank with massive anti-drone protection broke away from the group and got lost in the field. Surprisingly, this tank ended up in a cemetery. Although it is well protected from drones, nothing will save it from a direct artillery strike. This BMP did not have such protection, so the drone inflicted fatal damage on it. Another tank with massive armor is driving down the road. Although this armor protects well against drones, it also restricts the driver's view. Like in this video. The driver didn't notice the minefield and it cost him dearly. And here's what's left of the former tank. The last group went into battle. But this was also predictable. They have already been warmly welcomed by the operators of the Ukrainian-made Stugna P. This is rare footage of a downed Russian Su-25 fighter jet flying with its partner to support the infantry. The Ukrainian fighter spotted the enemy jet and immediately grabbed an ATGM, taking aim, and fired. A few hours later, helicopters arrived at the crash site to evacuate the pilot, who might have survived. Immediately, Ukrainian drone operators sent their birds to intercept the aircraft. The enemy was running away so fast that they forgot the evacuation team. The drones were equipped with explosives that can detonate at a distance, but it is not known what happened to the helicopters.